Hey all, welcome back to Fuzzy Ducksy Gaming and a new video on the channel going over my current farming strategies that I'm using for my Frostblade Slayer. Unlike my previous farming videos, these are more focused on endgame farming since we're now a few weeks into the league and the starter trees are not as profitable as at league start. At the moment I'm using 3 different farming strategies that I rotate through and they all synergize really well together. This has got 3 big benefits. Firstly, I sustain pretty much anything I need for the farm except for maybe topping up on some scarabs, which are cheap and easily available on the exchange. Secondly, each farm is different, so I don't get bored farming the same thing over and over again. Thirdly, each strat is pretty consistent profit-wise and each one has potential for massive drops. So let's go through the strategies in order that I complete them to sustain my farm. The first is a Blightheart farming strategy where we get as much increase effect as possible on our maps, along with juicing up rares, running 8 mod corruption match scarabs and pushing scarab drops as far as we can. Now, you've probably seen lots of people running this strategy. Be warned, it's super rippy and hard content. Even a strong character can get melted if your tower setup is wrong in Blight or the bosses get some crazy mods. It also glitches out if you leave too many enemies alive. There's this visual glitch where you basically can't do anything and you're likely to die or fail the map. So if you do this strategy, don't rely on the towers to do everything because if too much comes on the screen at the same time, it can crash the game. I found the odd map through crashes and also from dying, but for the most part, I complete the majority of the maps without too much incident. The idea behind this strategy is we buff the loot explosion at the end of Blight by getting as many Blight bosses, monsters and rewards as possible. You ideally want to do this on an open map. It gives you the best chance to spawn lots of lanes and therefore many more enemies. Again, this makes it harder because you might have 5 different paths that the enemies are taking into the Blight. You're going to have to kill enemies yourself with the strategy. You can't just rely on towers. The towers are really there just to slow or stun enemies so you can then go and finish them off. You need decent DPS to do this strategy and you need to be able to take a fizz hit. It's not a strat I came up with. There's tons of people running similar strategies and there's various videos out there if you want more info. So let's go over the tree and the scarabs for Blight first. You're going to have 3 scarabs that you're basically always going to use. You're going to have a titanic scarab because this gives more enemies based on pack size of area and we're going to be running 8 mod maps in this strategy. You obviously need Blightheart Scarab because this is a Blightheart strategy. This is what gives you all the loot at the end, but it's also what makes it pretty difficult. Because I want to farm 8 mod maps on my other strategies, I'm also using a cartography scarab of corruption and then a cartography scarab of escalation. So then you've got 1 slot left to use for a scarab. You want to use something that gives you more rewards from unique enemies or bosses. There's a few different options. You can use Horn Scarab and Nemesis. This gives 2 additional modifiers to rare monsters. You can use unique monsters, have 2 additional modifiers. So this one will boost up rares in Blight and you'll get loads of them. This one boosts up the unique monsters, which will be the Blight bosses, gives them 2 more modifiers, does make it a lot more difficult. And then Titanic Scarab of Treasures gives unique monsters an additional reward and increased toughness. I like to go with Titanic Scarab of Treasures, but you can go with either of these. These 4, if you want to farm maps, are important. If you don't want to farm maps and you want to do very, very rippy content, you can do all of these. So you could run all these 5 scarabs. So you do Titanic, Legend, Treasures, Nemesis, Blightheart. Makes it crazy, crazy difficult though. Spawns loads of monsters. I always have performance issues, so I never do that. I'm always going to reuse the maps. If not, I can sell them in bulk if I get absolutely overwhelmed with maps. Just to give you an idea of the kind of maps I've been farming, I haven't been doing this very long. These are all the 8 mod maps that I've got. I've dropped an absolute ton of the kind of memory maps as well. And then I've filled up my Mesa, I've filled up my Strand, and I've filled up Jungle Valley. I've basically filled up loads of my map slots. So if we go to maps here, you can see I've got 706 maps. So it drops an absolute ton of maps. If you find you're super over sustaining your maps, drop the maps every now and again to run some more difficult scarabs. You can use Blight on the map device because we don't take it on the tree. Blight isn't particularly expensive, it's 3C. I'd rather free up the points and get some more nodes on the tree. So speaking of the tree, let's go to Blight. In terms of the strategy and what you need to do, you want to take as many map nodes, quant rarity as you can. You obviously need Blight nodes. So the only ones we don't go for Blight is we don't go for blighted maps. These aren't that valuable at this stage of the league. You have to sell them in bulk on TFT. There's points better spent elsewhere. You're going to take 1 of the influence nodes. It can either be Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds. Eater is probably better, but because of the way I've set my character up, a lot of the red quantity and rarity altars are free for my character, so it makes sense. You just need to have a look at what type of build you're running as to whether you run Eater or Exarch. Take all of the Blight nodes. So we'll just go through the notables. So you've got Blight Towers can be salvaged. This gives you an absolute ton of gold and map. So when you're doing the Blight encounter, when you're near the end and you can see there's a few mobs left and they're stunned by one of your towers, they're not going to get to the Blight, go and build every single tower that's available. These convert into tons of gold, tons of map, and tons of loot. Immune response is just spawning more monsters and faster, so it makes it difficult but much more rewarding. We're taking Blight chests in your map are lucky and have a chance to be opened again. This can be massive if you get something like an oil chest that's the big chest at the end, or stacked decks, and then you can open it twice. It works really, really well. We're taking additional rewards, and one lane of Blight encounters is just bosses. This is very, very important for the strategy. You have to be able to run this. And then we're just taking that monsters take more damage and pump has more durability. Along with that, we're also blocking tons of content because we're going to force scarab drops into the map by boosting the rarity in the map and also scarab nodes. We want to try and get containment scarabs. So blocking every single scarab that isn't expensive is what you want to do. Now we do block Blight, but it's fine because we're forcing it on the map device, so it's still going to turn up. The reason we're doing it is the Blight Scarabs are not worth much currency. We don't want to see them. So we're not blocking Ultimatum because there's a big Ultimatum Scarab. And Harvest, it's up to you. There's some decent Harvest Scarabs, so I keep it unblocked, but you could block that as well if you wanted to. And then we're going to take Ambush, increased drop chance, because we want to try and get containment. I've dropped probably 7 or 8 yesterday when I was playing in my various strategies, so it's definitely worth doing. Then outside of that, it's pushing explicit modifiers up on maps and getting more scarabs to drop. So we've got kind of explicit modifiers here, scarab drops here, explicit modifiers here. I haven't taken all of them. I probably could drop some nodes on the tree to take more, but it's enough. Quality you don't need to do because you're going to be running 8 mod corrupted maps. You're not going to be able to chisel them. And then there's a few nodes left I could take if I wanted to drop some blocking nodes, but I really like the blocking because you want to get ambush scarabs. And then we're taking these map drop nodes here. And that's kind of it for the tree. In terms of how you complete it, you can do it one of 2 ways. I like to complete the whole map first because then I've collected all of my altars, I kill the boss, and then I go back to do Blight. If you want to be quicker in and out of the maps, you can just do the Blight as you find it, but you might be missing out on a lot of rewards if you then come across some decent altars. In terms of the mods that you're looking for on altars, it's anything that boosts quantity and rarity or anything that duplicates scarabs, maps, or currency. Even if you think you might die by taking a mod, take them unless it's a mod that literally shuts your build down. So there's a mod that gives you less defenses and less evasion. It makes it more likely that I'll die, but it gives me more chance to get better loot. This is a stage of the game where you shouldn't be dying that regularly, and you should be a high enough level that when you're doing this sort of strategy, you don't intend to level up. You're never going to level up from 99 to 100 doing this Blightheart strategy. You will die every now and again. But the loot you can get is insane, especially the maps. You spit out, I would say, 9 to 10 corrupted 8 mod maps per map. So even if you just wanted to sell the corrupted maps, you could do that. You drop corrupted 8 mod memory maps. These, if they're decent, can sell for really, really big currency. But I'm not one that likes to go in for kind of TFT and selling maps and regexing and things like that. So that's why I've set these strategies up so I can run the maps myself. Now, important things for this strategy. You have to get this anoint on your ring. Chilling towers freeze enemies for 0.2 seconds. This is what is going to make it able for you to complete these maps. The other one doesn't matter too much with ring anoint. You could go for the burning ground meteor towers. You can go for some stunning towers. I've just gone for increased effect from empowering towers because it's cheap. So when you go into the map and you start the Blight, look at the immunities. If you've got immunity to chill towers, then put stun towers in. If there's immune to stun, put chill towers. All your setup is going to be find the bottlenecks and funnel points in your Blight, put in an empowering tower, a chilling tower, and a stunning tower. And that's basically going to complete the map for you, other than the goats, because they seem to just run and jump through everything. So you need DPS to be able to kill monsters in case a couple break loose, and a charge for the pump. And then apart from that, you're going to be able to build lots of towers. Like there's going to be like 11 to 15 towers you can build in a map. just build any DPS ones that they're not immune to, but make sure you build them all up before the Blight ends, because these get dismantled for very, very good gold and most of the time 8 mod maps. Now, ideally, we want to be targeting the boss lane, but you don't necessarily know where the bosses are going to come from. So don't hang around and wait until you know before you start building towers. Just build them in the best choke points possible. Then once you've stunned a lot of the mobs and you see the bosses coming from a particular lane, you then concentrate on that lane. Normal mobs are not going to give you any issues whatsoever if you're an endgame character. You can be able to kill them all. The bosses could cause you issues. So once you see what lane the bosses are coming from, that's your priority to target your towers around that area to get them stopped. And then it's kind of chill. Once you've got everything chilled or stunned, you can then go and build some towers, and then you just go and finish the map. It's fairly straightforward. So last thing is map modifiers that you don't want to run. Because we're basically relying on enemies being chilled or stunned, we can't have them being immune to it. So reduce chance to be affected by ailments is a big no-no, because with the implicits that we have, they're going to be over 100% chance to avoid early ailments, so you're not going to chill or slow them. They're just literally going to rush the pump in seconds and destroy it. Cannot be stunned is up to you. I run cannot be stunned because I'm relying on my chilling towers, but it is a mod to maybe avoid. Cannot be slowed below base movement speed. Again, super important, because you're not going to be able to chill and stun enemies if they can't be slowed below base movement speed. And then it's going to be whatever map mod you physically can't run for your build. So this is one where you need to drop a lot of 8 mod maps, because you might only be able to run half of them for this strategy. That's the reason for having a boss rush and strong boxes later on, because we can run those maps that don't work for Blight but will work for strong boxes, or the T17s will work for boss rushing, but we'll come on to those next. So that's kind of how you run the Blight strategy. It is very hard. Please don't try it if you've not got a great character and come and say you're just getting destroyed, you can't make any currency. It's for an end game character. The next one is strong boxes. This is easier. I would think most characters will be able to do this strategy, and it's a strategy that probably 50% of the player base are doing, but it works really well. You do get consistently good trickle rewards, but you will get the odd double divine or double big divination card that makes the strategy worthwhile. Without the big drops, it's not very much currency, but you will get decent drops if you run the 8 mod maps that you've dropped in either your Blight strategy or you've bought them off TFT or the trade site. So the strongbox strategy is much more straightforward. There's a few different ways you can do it. I like to do a cheap strongbox farm, because I don't want to go not wasting, but spending lots of money on containment scarabs. Because of the state of the servers, I get crashes quite regularly. I want my farm to be fairly cheap, so that's what we've gone with. It's a strategy. Again, I haven't come up with it. I've seen a few people doing it, so I'm not going to say this is my ingenious strategy, but it's strong boxes. It's kind of the same as it's always been. Your tree is pretty similar. You want your explicit modifiers still. You want your scarab drops. You want ambush scarab, drop the others. Quantity, rarity. I changed this slightly. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to do. I take Seance and then I take Refiner's Bargain to turn items into dust, just because it helps me when I send my shippers. You probably don't want to do it because it might turn a really good unique into thaumaturgic dust. So this is 100% optional. Again, we're taking map nodes where we can. So these 2 map nodes here, taking all the Exarch nodes again, because I like running Exarch altars. And then it's just self-explanatory, really. It's strong boxes, quant rarity, increased explicit effect, scarabs. I don't take cartography strong boxes because I drop a ton of maps anyway. Again, for this strategy, you really want to clear the map first, then go and open the strong boxes, but it depends what layout map you want to run, because it can really slow it down. So I tend to just open them as I go along, but I'm sure the optimal way to do it is get all your altars done first, then go and open the strong boxes. So this is not a high budget strategy. I've got a very simple strongbox strategy, but it's still turned over loads and loads of good rewards. In a few hours I've done it, I've had 4 7-year bad luck cards, I've had 4 raw divines, I've had some containment scabs, I've had an absolute ton of stuff drop. And the scabs I use are just 3 ambush scarabs, hidden compartments for a chance to be openable again. And then strong boxes are likely to be rarer because you're more likely to get like the divination ones. And then you just put ambush on the map device, Exarch altar, and off you go. This one's really self-explanatory. There's no mods you need to avoid. You just need to make sure that the mods on the map your character can run. And then my third strategy actually uses the same tree. So I will get loads of T17 maps from Blight. I'm fed up bulk selling. I can't be bothered, so I'm going to run those maps. I basically have 2 strategies I use. I either use this strongbox strategy, but on the juicy T17 maps that I roll, If I just have a T17 map that I'm not going to do anything with and it's going to sit in my stash, I literally just rush to the boss, kill the boss, pick up the fragments and leave. So all I'm doing is seeing if firstly there aren't any mods that are super annoying, looking for high currency, high scarabs, and then I'm going to use the strong bot strategy. I don't want to waste loads and loads of chaos rolling these maps. So what I tend to do is take a map and ID it. If it's got decent stuff on it, like this has got 200% more currency, it's absolutely horrendous modifiers and I'll probably die doing this one, but I'll give it a go. I don't care about XP. The rare and unique modifiers remove 5% of your life is absolutely deadly when you get like shotgun and enemies. So I would be not bothered about the boss for this one. I would just go in for the currency. So I'd go in, do my strong boxes, hopefully get through in 6 pulls and get out again. If I got one where the modifiers were going to be really annoying for mapping, then I'll probably just rush to the boss. So this one I could run, it's Ellie Reflect, so my Merc's going to die, but this is one where it's not particularly juicy. It's got no extra currency, no extra scarab, so this I would just put that in, rush to the boss, kill the boss, take the fragments. This is just what I do with these maps. As I say, you're probably just as profitable selling them. If I'm just boss rushing, I don't even put scarabs in, I'll just rush to the boss. If I'm doing the ambush strategy, it's the same scarabs as before. And that's kind of it for the setup. It's earned me an absolute ton of currency. I think I was down yesterday to about 70 divines in my stash. We're now sitting at 124, tons of chaos. Plenty of loot that we can still sell. I've got an absolute ton of scarabs that I need to go through and see what's worth currency. Overall, it's netting me, I would say, about 15 divines an hour, but I would not take that as the currency you're going to get. This is really hard to quantify all of these strategies. Blight, you might end up making 5 divines an hour because all you drop are maps you're going to run and you don't get any big loot explosions. Equally, you might get double containment scarabs and raw divines, and then you might end up 20 divines for the next hour. All of these strategies are quite spiky in terms of profit. You'll have a baseline minimum of like 5 to 6 divines profit, I would think, but then they're going to spike up and down. So the ambush strategy, for example, in 1 hour, I got 4 7 years bad luck and 4 raw divines. The next hour, I didn't really see anything, so it can really spike up and down. But the fun strategies to do, because you do have that kind of dopamine hit of getting items that are worth, you know, a few divines. So that's kind of it for the strategy. So just to summarize, it's the difficult Blightheart strategy first. This sets up everything you need for the second and third strategy. And then I basically just run the one that I feel like running at the time. I die an absolute ton in these maps. I'm terrible at the T17 bosses. I run them with horrendous modifiers. So I'll often 4 to 5 portal the T17 maps, but I can get the bosses down quick. The ambush strategy, I'm never dying. The Blight strategy, I'll die every now and again. So I haven't obviously died for a few maps because I've got 5 to 6% of XP, but that won't last. That's kind of it for the video. I'll put Atlas trees in the video description along with the scarabs that you need to run and mods you need to avoid, just some hints and tips. But again, these are just what I enjoy doing. There's probably more profitable strategies. There's certainly bigger juicing strategies, but this is a nice middle ground for me. It's sort of medium juicing. You've got potential for big rewards and they're all really, really fun to do. That's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.